Okay. Capital N, lowercase o, capital Y, 6, lowercase t, capital T.
Bless you.
Can I spread?
Yeah.
Be good.
I'm good. Yeah,
Okay. American economies and unambiguous and equitable tax doctrines generates widespread backlash, which fractures cooperative cohesion that culminates in war. Moji. Root 4. Taxation will political communities be sensitive to tax and evolution never far away from equitability to tax for international cooperation, multilateral cooperation, community through OECD, there's many to reduce tax evasion. The countries are deeply disappointed after the voice of heard committing minimum corporate tax, raising problems in the code of damage and credibility of OECD. In fact, the U.S. refused to sign all the agreements because U.S. not get on board countries. Whatever they lose, U.S.-led multilaterals themselves a host of existential risks. For 2. Pandemic benefits global poverty, extreme wealth, everlasting structural inequalities, geopolitical and existential only which are optimists by recognizing collective nature, capacity, and organization, more effectively risk escalating conflict, global norms, fragile, could be catastrophic, stagflation, disruptions to energy, weakened international order, will avoid climate crisis, existential comments, accelerating based on diversity, opportunity, space, is a threat to life, must confront divergences across countries, global consequences, must bring collective thinking, weak management is challenged without effective multilateralism, grew and existing institutions, mechanisms for cooperation for research thinking, global comments, Brazilian skepticism about domestic implementation is premised on American hesitancy. The plan creates international consensus to GW 1115. Plus, corporate tax with the wealthy hard judge the international obligation to principle backers by the support following and rejected plans. If there was international consensus that could help negotiations with Brazilian Congress, Washington imposed not sign on Trump is ultimately back first was marked by large tax cuts, blue face, large odds trade negotiator, don't know how to reach a consensus. Unilateralism ensures plan gets modeled in creates a global tax regime. Note 15. Unilateral actions by the U.S. historically played a positive role in the international tax regime and further actions to be constructive. Constructive unilateralism is promising the corporate tax is necessary to regulate behavior on a global basis. The plan restructures international investment patterns and taxation strategies and it ensures economic compliance globally. Could ID 24. While tax has continued repercussions across the globe, future events of climate change and global dynamics, investment patterns, flows, and capital reshaping national strategy create significant exposure to handle both climate change and inequality, to set a precedent linking economic and environmental policies, inspiring similar measures around the world. American leadership on taxation policy solves climate debt, but an unambiguous signal is necessary to achieve emissions reductions globally. Oswald, to lead energy price and inflation, climate policy being a high income household taxation does not largely consumption, only to significantly fair state use promptly universally. USA set an example largely middle climate debt, climate policy, USA global climate goals, and extinction by 2030. Note 23. Fires, droughts, floods, and heat waves, the food insecurity, civil unrest, migration, capital effects of climate change as soon as 2030 emissions, climate prevail, the year seen for decades, overall adaptive capacity, prediction of more detrimental feedback on too much increasing sodium carbon CPRs and fires, talking larger promotes air pollution, voids loss, abiding pollution, exacerbate vulnerabilities, economic damage, loss of water, land, water disease, global pressure, worldwide static class plan. The United States ought to adopt a wealth tax movement. 24. Individuals more than $1 billion multiple required to pay tax annually equivalent to 2% of the wealth tax, building armies, parks, and international cooperation, doing current exit tax effectively, access, progressive features, secondary taxes, improved transfer duties, and avoid running a the bottom specifications are in this document. Advantage 2 is inequality. News data shows its high S3. 24. In the first quarter of 2024, almost 2/3 total wealth was in by top 10%. The gap remains far to the worker ratio, split economy series. The gap is the largest since the Great Depression. Oil tax, wealth warming, inequality, and racial gap 123. Oil countries record high. Billionaires have gotten each from $1 billion, bottom 50%. Individuals with the untouched by taxes, wealth tax rating, inequality, there's a wealth gap, and just 1% in black families will take your vital and economic rate and provide benefits. Otherwise, people investors draw a million times more emissions and taxing is essential to inequality, protect climate justice, and raising tax on the ultra wealthy, overwhelming popular tax laws to address the accidental currencies. The plan solved compares to wealth tax is most effective. Marty 23. Super rich capital gains, not taxable tax productivity eroded. Wealthies only pay 81% federal wealth tax gain traction. 60% American support, 73% Americans, 53% Republican mortgage tax. Would make it wealth and quality shoppers are open. 35% of the wealth exploiting keys and restriction for us. All assets, including broader taxable wealth, tax, reform control, wealth concentration, tax reducing, and loopholes. Actually, skip the Ollie card. Inequality causes extinction by elite capture and institutional collapse. Institution 24. Inequality increases extra constitutions to all the state temperatures, exclusions between civilization and conflict. Inequality produces growth, preparedness, health, and FOPA. Inequality leads to the capture of the great quality of institutions, produce capital, and that condition increase conflict, newborn virus, missile, AI, exocrisis, globalization, artifices, exit taxes, third-party reporting, and compliance with the treasury board, conscious offshore. Skip the card. Good framing. The standard is consistency with qualitative hedonistic active alternatives. Extinction outweighs number 15. Reducing exercises more the children of the future people, even while being raised, put over and between, not going down to feel large matter, blue plus versions of DI version. Things must be used for good. If like very strong reasons to reduce exercise, even though 9% sure the strong reasons more to reduce exercise, even if odd, not categorical, proven neutral, is contextually salient and sufficient to satisfy the work of the moral odd. Everson 11. Statements about what we ought to do are made relative to construction contextually supplied salience, and the relevant centers are determined by context. Moral odds to be commitments are involved. Odd, judgment for the system of rules. principles on this theory, relative to opposite charge follows A, ought to follow moral X, which means that conformity to the contextualized family of moral system requires X, and relative theory of ought and virtues is unified for intuitive is able to explain why speakers are ordered to act. The goodness and pleasure is by biologically definition a shared principle, which makes it a relevant agreement. Harmon 75. The judgment that is drawn makes sense only in relation to an agreement. There is an agreement in the relevant sense, but if people intend to adhere to some set of principle of interesting others, intent the agreement need not be conscious. Existence of that discourse isn't white and focusing on extinction helps open up radical counter features that militate against anti-blackness. Titan 22. Social health recognizes that the many groups purposes or for class sellers, Mitchell, Chowdy, or catastrophic literature, because we're European way of life. That can be asked for those can transfer urgency and something more. The official focus is only by addressing urgencies and now decide to stand to work towards new futures, avoid or better face up to catastrophes to the kind of futures Mitchell discussed in their work. Are you good if I add a card and send it? Okay. Nuclear war causes extinction. Their authors don't have atmospheric losses, which end planets are 15. Nuclear strength lead to unstoppable nuclear war. Some not which strategies politicians not aware of the loss of the atmosphere. 20 discussed the nuclear war, especially anti-gravitational specific physical effect, the ether effect of the event not limited to the atmosphere and space magnetic effect observed on the sun. If you the kind of space of a magnetic field, nuclear test induced storage to observing the anti-gravitational effect of nuclear bombs more powerful. Water and atmosphere spheres are become dead. This secure undressability will not say the nuclear confident and will be more miserable than the ability of innocent human beings, including the animal world. Go back to the contention. Inequality causes civil war. Church which has the illegal production of this driver and stability terrorism in civil war, radicalization spreads it, rights scribe, the relationship is non-lawyers, political non-sufficient, parallel relationship, parallel work, and relative vision of the wealth creates a high level of radicalization exposure in 2020s, and predicts an outbreak of serious violence that guarantees nuclear war and have cause of French. 20. None of these political guarantees be nothing lines, utterly dependent on the U.S. Church Chinese 1 year's activity reaching the leading, trying to become the worst of Belgian European law, people with 72 hours Chinese native with their Germany, rearm trade crash, Japan, and after nuclear nuclear policy, where we proliferate in multiple world regions, China rattle, nuclear chamber, extra Taiwan, Iran, to the nuclear bomb. Go across.
Okay. Any operators and decimals perhaps?
No, decimals are operators.
Okay, great. Util, qualitative, hedonistic, act utilitarianism, what does that mean?
The Evers evidence?
No, the standard test.
Oh, it's a form of utilitarianism.
Yeah, what is it?
For the greater good.
Yeah, what does it mean?
So it's descriptive of pain and pleasure. That's what qualitative means.
Okay, why do pain and pleasure matter?
The Palmer evidence says that, well, that's
the Palmer evidence says nothing about
yeah, so the Palmer evidence says that existential risks are bad, reducing pleasure, or reducing pain necessarily.
Where does it say pleasure anywhere, pain anywhere in this card?
It's about extinction, which is the
that's not
lack
about pain
of
and
pleasure,
pleasure, that's about
maximizing pleasure requires preventing that.
Huh?
The card doesn't say that, but it is an intuitive argument to say that pleasure requires being alive, and that you need to be alive to pursue pleasure, which is minimizing existential risks.
Okay, where have you warranted that pleasure is good and pain is bad?
That is just something that we'll defend. Like
that is just
the implication is that we should
well,
prevent existential
that's
risks.
just something we'll
The
defend. You have to
says
justify the things that you'll defend. I don't see what
again,
anywhere in this
the
matter.
implication is that in order to maximize pleasure, we have to stay alive.
No, why does
Palmer
pleasure
evidence
matter? I want to know why pleasure matters. That's
because
something
we need
that
to be
you're
alive.
why
Because
would
Palmer
you skip?
evidence explains why being alive matters.
Why being okay, the Palmer evidence. Let me say this. It explains being alive matters because if we're dead, we can't have pleasure. You have not warranted why pleasure matters anywhere.
But we have warranted by being dead is bad.
Because we
by
can't experience
maximizing
pleasure. Why does pleasure matter? It doesn't matter. Like, where's the warrant in the app? It doesn't.
Okay, so this is what's called a link chain. Pleasure requires life. We've explained why life is good, and so that
you just told me that life is good because if we're not alive, we
good.
can't have pleasure. What?
We cannot have ethics if we're not alive. That is the argument that Palmer evidence is making.
Where is that claim anywhere in the app? Like
the Palmer evidence says that ethics require life and that a risk.
Okay, why are ethics good? Like,
well, our
this
argument is
motion
that it's a sequencing question, and that it can be the only intrinsic value because other ethical frameworks presume that there are people alive or to.
Sure. Can you explain? Or what's the impact to the app?
Well, we've read multiple impact scenarios, like which one?
The second advantage.
Sure. Inequality causes, it's like civil war, which causes extinction. We've also read an additional card that says that it collapses, it would collapse in.
What's the implication of the Evers evidence?
The which card?
The Evers evidence, Evers 11.
What's the tag?
Even if all cannot be categorical.
Oh, I mean, it's like a scat preempt. The argument that it makes is that we don't have to win that util is true in 100% of cases, just that under an odd statement it is correct.
Okay. Does that mean that util is like a contingent ethic then?
What does that mean?
Like you say we don't have to win util is true in 100% of cases, like util is only needs to be good when we want it to be. Like for instance, would it not be a normative framework? Like you wouldn't be able to obligate action in all instances.
Well, it's an argument about what odd statements we have. So not contingent.
Not. Okay, sure. I'll send it out. It's one case.
Forum is
Framework.
you want the starter card?
Yeah, that's fine. Okay. I see it.
Okay.
I value morality. Meta ethic is metavisional internalism. When it collapses, only internal motivation can actually justify an action, which means that it feels external standards only working so to internally motivated by the principle of the external standard status or reason for action or punishment to alienation or internal motivations on how we define ourselves and assign obligations violating internal motivation and doing external authorities towards evil. Course 96 is on what identity is the view about what is the unstable fact of who you are, description of under which you find your life worth living or actions without undertaking the existence to express yourself, identity, nature, and obligations on with the obligation to affect this nature, the connection to identity. It is the conception of ourselves that most important that give us rise to obligations to violate them solution. Identity should only be that is to be worse than that. Only rational self-reflection self-reflection can be internally motivating, generate no benefit, requires our harmony is the basis for ethics, cause good, to the effect of like an outside of perceptions and desire, we need no reason because impulse of fear, or stand reflected scrutiny, good or I don't think be interested in normative voice that must reflected society me, community convince me that reason must be therefore be reflected society, because of like structure, the matter of the action of the idea of freedom, that not as interested in desire before you can act, there is something mysterious about free will, because the will is free, no longer open to being most of outside the will is free, atomic power, to the ownership of yourself and your belongings to the description of your agency, freedom requires that each person own themselves in order to obtain, in order to be able to actualize such a free will, owning oneself entails right to all parts of the body as and this come being each part of the mind and the parts of the search of the hair and blood coming as one of the body, so this meant to be an own body, we own these bodies, so this means we own our mind, we own our mind's qualities, so these things from the world is already attached to persons having ownership to themselves, thus experience consistent with respecting property rights, society control, only trying to limit property is a performative contradiction, in a sense, in making the argument, so we presuppose your own self-ownership, because one has to be an occurrence on the self-ownership, to deny any rights to self-ownership, that anyone who presupposes such to spread the control of his own body, in order to see, I believe such and such, to anyone disputing such a right would be caught up in the contradiction, you can argue so implicitly accept that, very much there, or something showing that self-ownership justifies that is, would be able to do after all the between ethics because any deviating from the provisions to like contradict one's own proposition making the ethics are incompatible with the state and possessor right to tax us like contend the United States on a debt of wealth tax one time with property individual right to the full effects of the holdings as extension of the immoral agency with prior to the holding transfers individuals that have a right to property while state on possession of the wealth tax violates its principle by taking holdings prior to active exchanges which are inherently contradictory with property rights violating 23 all wealth tax violates belongs to the principle that builds wealth and access into some people not paying taxes will go through so we see the disposal of access to wealth tax is imposed the level of taxation to coercion that goes to wealth tax is imposed on about the individuals thus violating natural rights of property to reflect the obligation to protect the rights of constituents JDs 20 because of the redistribution for the state indicates the instrumental concern justified based on the right to be validated and instrumental rights of people recognized critically in the state of nature of personal acquisition to acquisition the legal personal rights are insecurely and estimated timelines the transition to condition the only necessary ceded these rights because taxes to violate the property rights of holding the tax all the such rights emission duties should be all positive duties that well tax is inherently bad because it's under transfer that is subject to not voluntary consent to human 18 cannot consideration though explain why the state is entitled for the person wealthy services they want to benefit them the social welfare programs state coercively when citizens from these sources have any providers that if one is in harm of insurance coercively collected and any decision states an increase in revenue entails a harm across the rights violation the seizure of funds requires a welfare distribution to the rights violation that based on violating property and A is not performing action perform the action in question people not possess property that does not in fact possess the nation can be guilty for property violation even if the rights are violated themselves to the victim is better off in rights violation because the coerced transfer of the possession when you acquire is legitimate and without violating anyone else's right. Taxation is a non-voluntary transfer of property which initially belongs to the taxpayer and as was not when you office the way or the new framework can show the way that applicants under different ocean honesty frameworks about that if they reach points fill clash and chaos until you can see all of the contractions instead of just having at least you inherently manage the connection they feel for it to just really towards the energy ways to easily be swayed the judge technology and connection based don't ever choose one side see by the word doesn't with each of include the framework and substance which is necessary to redefine well vaculates resulting in that clash be decline solved just because if the topic is actually negating you just put defense on the contention level the framework you do not have a warrant for your framework it is purely impact justified you say that that because of for instance for having pleasure and causes pain you have not warranted by either of those things matter you just actually still also does not mean extinction outweighs it only means you evaluate pain and pleasure which means that it doesn't have an impact there's also just your warranting for it the hormone evidence and the evidence of both step points the evidence does not mean that ethics are good good, it allows for infinite violations, and impossible to enforce each other. It's supposedly just a Homestead fictionalism argument, which means just a scrap one, and I have not worked out any of the ones. The Palmer also has 0 words and assumes usual to be true, which means that you just have not worked your framework takes it out consequences. The fatal now, 1 to account for all foreseen impacts of an action is interested in more culpable for all actions, instead of such as action, double 2, or that action, otherwise ethical is whole ladies for all consequences, or the world, and losing any use can be more stations have control, the control the allegations possible. This is not conflict defense and impartial having to single migrant for nationalism, which is just like you should know just what happened for happen against five and rebelling and since we know that actions been mental after safety make sure kids don't know that and existence because we didn't possibly make no five knowledge of solution vehicle people in the other side of me massive connection they explain each time to see no forget and controls these are equal the all means of always done coming up some extinction probably public and it was basically sufficient just like I said the infant violations there always be some message be a human value the actual public acting the that's in well tax the world will cease to exist because the public is 100% is any kind of extinction because we just saw that action can see probably we have caused the most often the government gives the government like to realize how many consequences which people when you can't use they can't just when it matters and all of your arguments that consequences fails type of arguments be like not instrumental is not intrinsically is life is not intrinsically valuable, it's instrumentally just because we have to be alive to have freedom doesn't mean that life itself is good or an end goal or second and all that things and open because being alive is simply an absence of experience is not with all these things 014 that's the question therefore no one certainty from the framework come out usually we'll just spend it on and we should have to why they actually also use as a negative certainty because that present modesty is incoherent you can't show me the probability of affirming true space it was also the hijack you can see the harden and 2775 and it says that agreements of the element of grammar obligation to agree with the constitution we all agree in the constitution because we exist in the nature of our nature exists in the US but no everyone agrees on mutual I masochist one essentially unifies the government actors tends to a single entity capable of acting closer and then this argument falls from the falls to the following procedure the constitution lays out a deliberative action that action is only just only the following procedure the law which is in has must be constitutional laws that normally arise from hearing that procedure that have been established the procedure of normativity is not so we both from the beginning but the outcomes that is the procedure themselves that confers that normally there's outcomes in the procedures rather normativity from the constitutional procedure in order to act from the clause from the enforcement of the constitution defense procedure to the action that normally enforces the constitution consists of when the impossible action to function in a single unified agent when a deliberative process procedure to unify those single agent break down the city cannot access the units the next one just can't stand because with the constitution and again the does not have a right to authenticate by the constitution with the Africa its constitutional aspect not that is a constitution which means you have to put every aspect is constitutional and doing what the 16th amendment compare 22 Oh, well, technically, realized capital gains, although tax on capital gains, nobody direct tax 16 million without loss of such activity, only tax on income protection, but the income income clearly unrealized, the definition of the gains not clearly realized, back over the code is not being dividends, not do not because unrealized gains from the Fifth Amendment is the clause 20, the tax, the well tax amendment prohibition, the private property, use just without constitute, public compensation, the ownership which in the property, lack of the property, which is something ownership tangible and exchangeable, the only point being increasing well tax the government, but not compensated for the dollar, the advantage Asia like the 24/7 goes 24 lots of these kind of summation and submission which is one of the topic benefits the emission of the air trans public 24/7 50% the quite economic has even a stopping so 20 online going to mention that machine long hand the content a element functions going to know the online to disease pay the benefit like to the with the bed second the most mindfully effort you can give quite digital because the shows about technologies and systems and we control that have something they don't care about.
Go for Goss?
Yeah.
Did you skip anything?
Yeah, I skipped one of the cards on the. Or I skipped 2 cards on the hijack.
Which ones?
The second card.
The Duggan card.
Huh?
The Duggan.
Yeah, and then. Oh yeah, that's the only card I skipped.
Okay. Anything accented?
Epistemic, confidence, and then just expectancy.
Okay. Voting machines.
Yeah, see.
Why is it? Okay. Sure. Indexicals?
No.
The first MC, what is motivational internalism?
Yeah, motivational internalism means that ethics must be derived from things which are internally motivating.
Okay, so like, again, okay, I guess for Hitler, things that were internally motivating was like killing Jewish people. Would your framework justify those things?
No, because that would be a violation of their rights to themselves as property. Like Hitler sees Jewish people as property. Well, it says that you own yourself as like your own body as being your own property. He would be violating that right to the act itself. So, he also like sees their property.
So explain why property is connected to motivational internalism.
Well, yeah, the argument is that's like the course code stuff with the autonomy. It says only our own like rational reflection and our own autonomy can be internally motivating to us because of the way that we reflect on these things. Huh?
What motivates you?
My autonomy.
Okay, that's your only internal motivation.
Well, yeah.
Okay. How should the government pass policies knowing that you maximize your autonomy?
Well, the argument is that the government should pass policies that respect people's property rights because those are the things that are inherently connected to
What are property rights?
Huh?
What are property rights?
Yeah, well, it's pretty like self-explanatory. It's like a right to your property.
Okay, so like do poor people not have a right to property?
Well, no, the
Okay,
argument.
so then why should rich people have more property than poor people?
Well, the argument is that it is a violation of their property rights, which is always a bad thing.
So like
Or evidence specifically contextualizes by even.
So the stance you're taking is that we should not redistribute monetary policy and that inequality.
No, we should not. It's not inequality good. It's that redistributive
Well,
policies
okay, I
that
think the
take.
implication of saying that we should not like reduce wealth inequality.
Well, it's not inequality good. It's rather the form that the act takes to do
Okay.
so is a bad thing.
How do we resolve inequality?
Well, the argument is that you could make a policy that does not
How?
coercively.
Like what would that look like?
I mean, I don't know. That's not for the negative to advocate
Okay,
for.
so, okay, sure, it's not for the negative advocate for. The contention, the really evidence says that it violates the principle that people are able to build wealth. Why?
Yeah, the argument is that individuals, this is just from the pact, that they are entitled to the full effects of their holdings as an extension of their moral agency
Okay,
prior to holding
the
transfer.
hijack, what does it mean?
It means that your unemployment evidence says that we construct ethics through our agreements on people. That's the only way to grant a moral obligation. Not everyone agrees on util, but everyone agrees on the Constitution.
Why does everyone agree on the Constitution?
That's what the course guard evidence wants. It's that the
Okay,
Constitution is the basis of how we like.
Okay, who else agrees with the Constitution? I disagree with the Constitution.
Well, I mean, by nature of existing in the United States, you have implicitly
Okay.
agreed to a social contract, which means the
Which part
Constitution
says
is the
that?
only thing that can grant ethics. That's the course guard evidence.
Okay. Did you read the cards?
Huh?
Did you read Wipeout?
Yeah.
Okay. Should I kill myself?
Well, no.
Okay, why not?
Because you killing yourself would not solve imminent AGI, which causes
Okay, but
infinite.
it would prevent me from suffering from it.
Well, no. The argument.
Why not?
Well, the argument would be that it is better for an AGI to never come into existence because that would cause infinite unquantifiable human suffering
Okay.
for all people.
Okay,
So
that's incoherent, that's fine. The theory argument was the only theoretical argument AF must not breed new framework offense.
Oh yeah, that's just like preemptive.
Okay, what does that mean?
It means that you can't like, say extinction turns the NC, or you can't say extinction.
Okay, so we can't answer the NC.
Well, you can. It says you should just answer the framework of the NC because that creates better substantive debates and is more
Okay.
fair.
Can we answer the contention?
Yeah. Oh wait. No new. Actually, no. It's NCC, so you can't answer the contention. It's just like we should have a framework debate.
Okay, sure. You read offense under our contention. Like, how is
It's specific to the negative.
Okay, why?
Yeah, the argument is that the tutor has a structural advantage because you can just dump for 4 minutes on terms and then get the final word on it.
order is the case in the order of our contention, and then the wipeout stuff. Then it's the Course Garden C, then we'll answer like a lot of the framework things. And then the hijack, I'll send it. The one-air doc is in their doc, but I've highlighted the things, like the cards I will read in blue, so you can enter it. I said hijack at the bottom, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Wait, just be clear one more time. You said case starting on contention, then going to your framework, Court Garden C, hijack.
Yeah. And then wipe out after the first contention, so the second one.
Okay.
Are you good?
Yeah.
Case solved climate change dropped, and they've conceived that the plan would take away funding from the rich that allows them to invest in things that cause climate change and cause extinction because it causes nuclear war. Wipe out, reject the team, death is good, is repelling, causes psychic violence, institutions, it gets making funded, it kills activity, immediately pushes a role, and it's your responsibility as an educator to make safe. They're wrong, life isn't all pain, and it's not more tense. Everyone here experiences that to be true, so you must be totally sure to both negative pain and pleasure are relevant for impact calculus, because that'll be giving people the ability to make meaning, not into HR brings infinite pleasure. Simpler 12. Singular means memory, increase of illness, life is not the option, economy, increase of infinity, possibly using the fraction of capacity, and the universe, all humans ever live, rest, live forever, will future, make the power of perception, will ever see their country, they will, and the far future, people are always AI, creators, 15, Elon Musk, understanding your word about AI, those who aren't more than within others who we need to look for, AI, people war, nuclear, for that, people war after their economic growth season short, temperatures fall, The consequences of hijacks, 114 consequences are intrinsic to our intent because we will this consequences to happen. Any other understanding Greenland's unethical behavior by allowing people to claim their intent was benign. These binding this intent allows agents to opt out of obligation by claiming their intent in something else classes. We evaluate which maxims are good by looking at the consequences of the universalization. Why it's bad? Because universalization was result in truth and what trust and truth being undermined. We can only know that Hitler's bad because the result of Hitler's actions would be bad. His logic is incoherent to value people's practical reason without willing. No logic people's practical reason is valued in two ways. It procedurally violates practical reason by undermining every person's capacity is that pursue ends which contradiction plus the object's observation, even if I know I'm reason, I have no reason to believe others are using reason rather than acting rather, which collapses because we use experience to inform beliefs and regress term. I cannot ask why I ought to value reason, but I cannot physically deny the value, play, and pleasure, which will do below confirm value property, or actually skip this card there, offense, won't answer it, but will just be the framework. Anyways, the bond value proper. One is backward external naturals of action true internal motivations we have in the first place, i.e. aversion to pain is inevitable, whether purely internal motivations will always be opted out by acting as a situation, mutual hijack number 2, the natural properties of pain, pleasure, identical, practical identity, course guards wrong, good, not refer to reflective success because we can act why, reflective success scope, not actual pleasure, is good, irrationally is wrong, like self-interest, private property, not exist, absent, which is guarantee, which means anti-liberal sharing, religious grace, and contradiction, saying, it's not reverse causal, it's often under their framework methods, and will enter the theory, we're not going to answer their contention, we should reject their answers to our contention, because it's that's necessary to maximize the framework debate, anything else results in debates over the contention, and then turns into one side, which is understandable, and the definition of unfairness, which you should reject. The framework proper. Consequences, the 1 and 2 arguments are wrong, we're only eligible for things you're culpable for. The third argument is wrong because application is possible through death counts in the context of the state. The fourth argument is wrong, deduction works. You know a pen would fall if I dropped it, they proved it's hard, not impossible. In case being dropped proves it's true. 5, you can predict the consequences of the plan being implemented, and predictions are good. Grade 22, difficult not to predictions of things may be unpredictable, but I can learn it. One way to establish is why being learned useful things by examining what may be unpredictable is not and develop real problems. More likely to have a relation issue, helpful analysis, wrongly management, and more likely to predict what's up. Can be predicted, focusing could be more useful compared to there. Now, we know that there's a consensus that people want to be alive because people are alive in the first place, and if they don't want to be alive, they would not be alive, which means that you know that the only 100% consensus is that maximizing existential risk, minimizing existential risk is the utmost world good. That was the concession, that was the conceded argument. This should frame most arguments, but we'll do the extinction stuff here. 1, risk of case is 100%, which answers the main argument there's no violations because there's no culpability to solve other things. Awareness of pain and pleasure occur by phenomenon, possession proves value, Nelson, putting feeling this part of our being aware of pleasure of pain, we know we're in a state of pleasure of pain. The original argument we would need an argument find that when individual burns himself and causes to be able to not know there's such arguments until you where you feel pain, you felt things, so all these part of how you can wear the pain is just, or just make occur by phenomenology where you can become aware of pleasure pain phenomenology because pleasure and pain are phenomenological states and every non-phenomenology alternatives blood in experience is the only time justification for that source. The psychological evidence of the evidence that humans do not have any capacity to garner knowledge and empirical source to knowledge part, or that takes me to the world humans are to do with the rest of nature and we rely on the animals understands. There's not things are we not capacity to present to operate knowledge. There's no model alternative with the framework. There is wrong because people win that there is a rest of your framework is wrong. Now the hijack, they conceded that they are wrong about consensus because people disagree with the Constitution all the time, i.e. protesters, and the fact that the Supreme Court exists proves that there needs to be other rulings, which means that they don't have 100% consensus, but everybody who's alive agrees that they need to be alive, otherwise they would no longer be alive due to the majority with our framework, and that the dropped Hartman evidence definitely affirms it frames out the rest of this offense. They cannot concede argument and then not win 100% risk that they are correct. They not read evidence that implies that everybody in the United States agrees with the Constitution, and the fact that the court issues rulings that reinterpret the Constitution is false.
Thank you. Did you read the other two arguments on like the bypass stuff? It's like the choice and stuff.
Yeah, like block, yes. Or no, just for the first block. The reject the team. Archie, 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Are you gonna take a look at that? Are you gonna talk about it? Jeff.
Also, did you get extra colors in one area?
What?
Like I didn't get
They're
like,
all in the top.
are they? I didn't get like,
They're highlighted in blue.
uh,
The tag is highlighted in blue. If you scroll.
yeah.
Do you want me to like put the cards inside the doc?
No, it's not.
Okay. Cards.
No.
Okay. Good.
Jen, are you good?
Yeah.
Okay. Concede that S that way one negative values of life always no values negative values always no values of itself to is infinite suffering which are neutral which makes it preferable. This means that you can just vote negative even if you feel what discuss it seems because it seems to be preferable to infinite suffering which is the argument they have not wanted why it seems to matter other than it would cause pain and would not love a pleasure but if we're winning infinite suffering then not use all the arguments so it's also yourself it's the equivalent of die with suffering which not use only it seems our ways once it means that we our ways tax causes SOS one axis and mishaps causes the misaligned two they don't need it doesn't even need to go okay have as long as it gets into the hands of evil we will use the convention of specifically things like imminent torture chain claim which is the conceded evidence. Conceded means that it's just a question of who best combats SOs because this has distinction weighing infinite suffering. So any risk of us solving means that it's sufficient to avoid negative. They now are reasons why they solve SOs, so they only solve extinction, which is the only risk is negative. They concede that AGI is coming now, except that there's 24 evidence of an analysis of all the surveys. The best most knowledgeable AI researchers concludes that AGI is likely 24/7 proposed the largest study with the most recency as for audits of evidence specific ones because never have time in the 45 minutes to debate to discuss and we interested whether or not it's possible. But the experts have included Joe Warren. It's still concluded negative. Also, that makes SOs inevitable with always extinction. That extends the 22 evidence. It was called drop AGI. Is inevitable, gets misaligned, accidents, mishaps, and bad actors, all ensured cause infinite suffering, your mind uploading torture, and continuing things by the trillions, only designed to feel more pain, infinite torture chambers, etc. Other things make a structural claim that every technology in history that's ever been created gets systematically misused, and there are tons of evil people out there who will all use it using psychology, etc. Which means that it takes out and outweighs all of, which means that it takes out and outweighs all of your arguments, a lot of your arguments here. First, the rejected team arguments. This is just not an argument. There's no one to drop the debate. You should drop the argument. There shouldn't be able to go for a streamlined argument. The truth makes it the generality possible. We have to preempt everything. There's also just genuinely no one for the genuinely no form, and it's also DBs because I can go for the arguments also empirically false. Why that has been on forever, and we are all still here, and also finally should evaluate there's the internal link to the impact. It does not cause psychological violence, etc. And it's been empirically disproven, which means that even if they're winning accessibility, it's a large impact. They are not winning an internal link to accessibility. We don't say kill yourself either. It's just a warrant in debate. It is heck of a truth and people distinction solved because just because I advocate for something in debate just means that the truth level around. It's your fault for not answering the argument well. Not mine. Also it will also return on you because you're the one who said that. You're the one who said util, and I'm just using a logical extension of util. I.e. util would say that life is not intrinsically valuable. Rather, it only matters whether or not we're feeling pain or pleasure, which means you would justify people killing themselves if they feel more pain than they do pleasure, which means that it turns on you. There's also just no one for this being rejected team at all. Now, no warrants that AGI brings infinite pleasure, even if it can. There's a structural claim that says that AGI always brings infinite pain because it has always been misused throughout history. There are always evil people out there who will get their hands on it, and people do not want. This just makes the claim that it could be used to allow us to live forever. That it is prescriptive or we should be, but not descriptive, which is the main issue between all sound evidence is their evidence because all evidence is a structural claim by the way that things are structured. The new core always say, this is someone's opinion about this is someone's opinion about Elon Musk. It makes no sense. Just as the new core causes extinction, it's just that generally it's consensus among people that doesn't matter because your framework itself wants that pain and pleasure are the things that matter the most, which means that it just takes it out and doesn't matter at all. Yeah, that should be sufficient there. They just conceded the scenario. The cores are incoherent. To drop the debate one doesn't make any sense. Okay. Top level ethics must be internally motivating because absent a desire to follow ethical principles, we cannot guarantee that agents will follow them. This is no amount of external punishment or force can override their internal desire. That's a practical necessity for any valuable principle because ethical principles are only useful insofar as they only useful insofar as the effective implementation means any risk or framework is the only one that consistent with this. What agents should have a reason to follow is a sufficient reason to perform a conception. Only autonomy is internally motivating. Conceded. All agents have different conceptions of the good contingent upon circumstances, desires, values, etc., which proves that their argument is false. Since they conceded people like masochists, it's interesting. Usual is not internally motivating for all people, but the autonomy is because you can see our structural thing about the reflective structure of the mind. Only the freedom can choose can unify the differences between all of these universal values that every agent is motivated to care about. If I desire anything at all, I must desire the ability to desire and act upon different things, which the freedom is always a side trait to any end property right. So the primary extension of this intrinsic desire for freedom is the ability to have my own choice about over my own body and its products is the most basic form of autonomy because after our own self-ownership, you can be validated without restriction. I have the right to my own resources for the same reason I have the right to my own body for the acquisition of its resources and the natural extension of the body and labor insofar as it means the violation of property rights equivalent to a violation of my own self-ownership. I do not have to defend libertarians in a vacuum, just that it's valid. This is in instance you can see conceded that it negates because it's coercion and that because the wealth inherently is that is unjust transfer that somebody does not violate to consent. You also conceded that you don't test my offense that use text over spirit on the interpretation means it can't take out my own wipeout stuff, which I'll do here for text over spirit is better because the text specifically says only the affirmative. You choose text over spirit. Anything else justifies infinitely shifting what the spirit of an nature is, which is unresolvable, unverifiable, and cause the judges intervene, which is the most impact independently. You conceded specific reasons. That's why it's worse for the affirmative because with the story is worse for the affirmative because the affirmative gets a 3-minute period to just jump on whatever argument they want to and to the process of drug psychology, and the affirmative wanted to jump as well, and they get planks to solve all of the offense, but we don't get the planks to solve the offense, which is sufficient reason. They should and can't take out my arguments, but does take out all of your arguments. Means that it doesn't matter if they win the extinction outweighs under util, because it's a question of whether or not extinction outweighs under my framework. You conceded epistemic modesty because it's incoherent to weigh between different frameworks because there's no way to do that, and it justifies irresolvability again, which means that it's just a question of whether or not I'm winning my framework, which I definitely, and I'll do the limelight of your answers to my framework here. You say that people can opt out of internal motivation. There's no one. It's literally the thing which motivates us, even if we always change it, and the only way to determine what is internal motivation, which makes no sense. The good is also reflective sex. It's silly and unwarranted. You've conceded that about the brain structure things. You said we can ask why it's good. That's all. You guys argue if you didn't read the debates one-sided reciprocal, already answered all that stuff. I'll do consequences good. I'll do consequences good now. The only stuff that will culpable for this argument is incoherent. It's literally I couldn't flow it, and even so, this is all argument. It makes you infinitely culpable for all action state of affairs because there are not just those that factor into the will, which means there's infinite culpability. Your stuff is only things that we're culpable for. Yeah, we see you make infinite culpability, which is that takes it all out. The induction example is using the pen, which proves that it's an inductive case, which means it fails. It's circular. It takes out all the arguments. Predictions work. It's about black swans in general as a prediction. The app is an intricate internal link, which isn't proved to fail. It's also prescriptive, not descriptive. Says we should use them to learn, but not that they actually work. So before arguments, because these actual examples of 80,000 people who all failed, there's a 50-50 chance it causes it, or does it cause extinction, which means that it takes out all of your answer. The Nelson arguments conceded mathematics, but again, which takes it out, doesn't matter at all. It conceded internal motivation, it's the internal link to it, which is all arguments. The rest of the arguments are all literally just they're all just Kant answers, which makes no sense. They're all just Kant answers, which makes no sense. The stuff about lying was also a Kant answer. A lot of things, all of the arguments also assume consequences, and consequences from the fleshly object suggestion doesn't matter because it's about whether it's internally motivating, and it's a question of our intrinsic desire. Also never read not naturalism, so it doesn't matter. Look, debate is super easy, just like should have conceded naturalists in most of the framework.
Case in the order of the advantage, wipe out the NC. A wealth tax disincentivizes carbon investments by the wealth because it makes them too expensive, which causes otherwise anything else causes climate change. And consider the scenario which starts at 100. They've also dropped that causes extinction because it triggers nuclear wars globally, which causes extinction. Now the calc index framed them all. They just dropped that the case was conceded, which means that it starts at 100. They cannot go for generic calc index without answering our specific link chains, even if they're wrong in the broad term. They consider that they can be correct sometimes, which was the black swans card, which means that you should assume that predictions in the case of the affirmative are true. Now induction failed to not have a warrant, and the 2AR was just assertion, but they've conceded that they prove induction is hard, not that it is impossible. And the fact that the case is dropped means that it is certainly true. The other argument that they extended as a reason why consequences aren't possible was just functionally incoherent because it was incoherent. They dropped the scenario, it means it starts at 100. Wipe out. We do not need to answer wipeout because they can see that the only impact that matters is life. Hartman and Evers should frame the debate. They drop both arguments. One, Evers says that abiding by relative commitments determined by context is sufficient to prove a moral ought statement is true. Explicitly conceded all obligations are contextual to a standard, and that is just a question of what the standard is. Remember, the 1 and C explicitly conceded this argument because they thought they had a hijack, and then the 1 and C explicitly conceded and recontextualized it to util. 2, Hartman establishes the standard and context that frame moral obligations. They've conceded that if everybody does the same thing, they implicitly agree that thing is good. They've conceded that every single alive person thinks that being alive is good. It doesn't have to be explicit. It is implicit because they did not want to be alive. They would kill themselves. Dropped. Now, the masochism paradox means that suffering is not a universal obligation. We're explicitly conceding some people do not care about pain. It means that maximizing pain and pleasure is not the implicit agreement that people have. Rather, it is being alive. Drop this argument. Frame impact calculus. Answers wipeout because wipeout is about pain and pleasure, but does not answer extinction, which means that it's relevant. Now, course guard NC. they've dropped that they can only have a moral frame, that the only thing that we need to win is that the plan is morally relatively good. They've dropped, which was done above. Now, all we have to win is that course guard is not the universalizable standard that the Harmon evidence and the Evers evidence talks about, and it's game over. The problem is that this is really easy when they drop that there's no universal intent, and that people like Hitler have differing intentions than other people, which means that their framework is not a universal intent. All of this was dropped by the 2 and R, and they were very blippy on all these arguments. You need a universal intent in order to prove an ought statement is true. The universal intent is determined by looking at what all people do implicitly. That is being alive. There's no shared desire. Even if they're right about their brain arguments, they can see that the way people maximize property rights are through various things. Like for Hitler, he maximized his property rights through what he thought was correct by genociding Jewish people, but that infringed on the rights of those Jewish people, which means that it's not the universalizable standard that our evidence talks about. Look, even if you don't think that this argument is very good, all of it was dropped. 100% of it was fully conceded. The self-ownership stuff and the brainwaves arguments, just don't assume that there's no universal intent, because people don't desire the same thing with their property right. Now, we also want that course guard is just fundamentally wrong about property rights, and consider that certain people prefer a different standard of property rights, which was the entire inequality scenario from the 1AC, that certain people do desire redistribution, which means that this is not a universalizable standard. Look, drop Evers and drop the Harmon evidence, which was their hijack argument that we conceded in the 1AR, and explicitly dictates that ethics must be universalizable and that theirs are not, and that only life is.
Good debate.
Good debate.